Time for another lore compilation. Before we get into this one, just want to do some updates. So this past month I hit 20k, and just now I've reached 21k. That's just crazy to me. I can't thank y'all enough. I know my next goal is to hit 25k, and I guess I'll put mid-March as the time I want to hit that by. But honestly, we've been moving so fast and just exceeding every expectation I could ever have. I'm forever grateful, and I'm so glad I make content y'all enjoy. I had planned to get a long-form video out last week, but I made the mistake of choosing a topic that I've been trying and failing to write a script for several years. I had thought because recently I've been pretty good about pushing through the normal blocks I have when it comes to writing, that I could finally get this one done. But no. It's not even for something Sonic related, it's just a thing in a comic that I think was done very effectively and has stuck with me for years. I talked with some friends about it and I think I have a way to do it now, but I really want to make sure this video meets the expectations I hold myself to and what y'all have come to expect of my videos. The video is going to get pushed back a little bit. I'm still planning 3 more videos this month, but that one isn't going to be one of them. I think it needs to be cooked a little bit longer. Also, I'm going to work on increasing my contributions to Wikizilla. This will not affect my upload schedule here, but sometimes you might get an extra short from me or someone else over on their channel. We already have 2 up, one from me and one from Koopa, so if you like Godzilla and other kaiju stuff, go check it out. And also check out the secondary channel, Wikizilla Extra. We're trying to get more stuff like stream highlights over on there too. Anyway, onto the compilation. This is everything from September of 2024. Argyle the Crocodile is a character who appears in the Archie Sonic comics. The son of Vector in the Light Mobius timeline, he is a tech specialist who Vector describes as a homebody. Guess he found the computer room.
Find the computer room!
While he did not directly participate in the fight against the Chaos, he did what he could to help out remotely. In addition to this, it's implied that he and Knuckles' daughter, Laura Sue, may have some feelings for one another. In fact, they may have even tied the knot even further into the future, as when Edmund, a resident of Silver's time, sees the prelate version of Vector, he comments that it reminds him of his father. Prelates are a form of creature that appear in the Archie Sonic comics. Appearing in the Dark Mobius timeline, they are formed from cores, or the life force, of Mobians extracted by Enerjack, and despite being made from their life forces, hardly anything remains of the person they once were. Extremely durable, even if they are defeated, as long as Enerjack maintains possession of the core, he can simply remake them. The first of these Silver would encounter would be the Prelate version of Vector, when it managed to travel to his time, though when pursuing him, Silver would then have to contend with the Prelate versions of all of the Chaotix, and even more would be called upon as Silver and the Dark Freedom Fighters took their stand against Enerjack. After Johnny Ka absorbed Enerjack's powers, she stated she wanted to attempt to restore the cores to everyone they had been taken from, though we would never see if she would succeed. The Justice Brigade is a group that appears in the Fleetway Sonic comics. Inhabitants of the Special Zone, specifically on planet Meriden, they are a superhero team led by one Captain Tornado. Their arch rivals are a team of villains known as the Discriminators, led by a villain known as Baron X. When Sonic and the Chaotix happen across their fight, the Chaotix quickly jump to the Brigade's aid to, quote, fight for truth, justice, and all stuff like that, though Sonic doesn't know who he's supposed to be fighting. Sonic comments that he doesn't even know what the fight's about, to which Mighty replies that it's because the Chaotix and the Brigade are the heroes, and the Discriminators are the villains, not helping Sonic understand at all. And he only grows more confused as the police arrive and all 3 groups have to run. According to writer Nigel Kitching, both the Justice Brigade and the Discriminators were parodies of American superhero teams who, quote, knock the hell out of each other for no particular reason. This is how Jewel got infected by the metal virus. While in Spiral Hill Village, Jewel is approached by the president of the Sonic fan club, who is looking for Tangle, as he had gotten separated from the rest of his friends when Eggman's ship began dropping the virus. Since Tangle is out of the village helping Sonic deal with the larger outbreak of the virus, Jewel offered to help. They managed to find one other club member, but just as they get her to safety, Eggman's ship began dropping the virus again, forcing them all to run. And though they end up having to pass the other now infected members of the club, Jewel manages to get them both back to the safety of the village, really proving that she can be just as heroic as her friends. However, unknown to her, both of the kids had gotten themselves infected and transferred the virus to her. And even if that hadn't been the case, Eggman's ship arrives at Spiral Hill Village ready to drop more of the virus. And after Jewel turned, she ended up being the one to infect Tangle. Honey isn't the only character based on fighting vipers. This is Pane the Boar. As you probably know, Honey the Cat is based on a character of the same name from the fighting game Fighting Vipers. But in issue 269 of the Archie Sonic comics, amidst the arc based on Sonic the Fighters, they squeezed in a 2-panel cameo for a different Fighting Vipers character. Pane the Boar is Amy's round 1 opponent and is based on Jane from Fighting Vipers. On a piece posted by comic artist Diana Skelly on DeviantArt, Skelly stated, "I was asked to draw Jane from Fighting Vipers as one of the opponents, but without directly referencing her. While Pane's time in the comic was short, I think she has a really fun design, and I wouldn't mind seeing her getting paired up as a sidekick to Honey." The Archie Sonic comics provided a look at a possible future for Tails. Despite having been given a couple love interests in the present day, Tails is paired up with Mina Mongoose, who he had very little direct interaction with, and has 2 children with her, Sky and Melody Prower. At some point in the past, Sonic and Tails had a falling out, and were no longer on speaking terms. Sonic not even coming to say goodbye when Tails moved to the Down Under. Obviously it was something serious that happened between them, as it took the entire future being altered to reunite them. Thankfully, Tails had predicted the alterations coming and created the Spatial Armband, which kept him and his family protected from the changes. Tails and Mina's kids would eventually participate in the battle against Chaos, with Tails commenting that it's just like old times. Right after Robotnik fell, those who had been left roboticized weren't exactly treated well. In issue 55, a roboticized girl, Fanny Dupont, is chased by an angry mob just for looking around Robotnik's old lab. Before they can attack her, Uncle Chuck comes to her aid, attempting to smooth out the situation, though the fact that he was roboticized himself makes that impossible. The mob decides that they want Princess Sally to settle the dispute, but unfortunately she was out on a mission at the time, leading her father, who isn't exactly mentally well at the moment, to oversee the dispute, to which he decides that all Robians should be dismantled, which even the angry mob seems to think is too much. Thankfully, Sally arrives and her father passes out, though tensions only rise further from there. Way before the Phantom Rider, but after Bob Beakey, Archie Sonic had his own disguise. As punishment for both taking and losing the Sword of Acorns, Sonic was not allowed to leave Knothole Village. However, inspired by his comic books, he creates a disguise he calls Sneak. As he leaves to search for the sword, he sees that Jeffrey and the Secret Service are heading to Robotropolis for the same reason. He decides to keep an eye on them to keep them out of trouble, but the moment they get spotted and Sonic jumps in to help, they surrender, much to Sonic's annoyance. They do all manage to escape, but not before Eggman reprograms Heavy and Bomb, though Sonic manages to get home without being unmasked. However, he would be immediately arrested upon his return to Knothole, for different reasons. In the penultimate story of the Sonic X comics, Vector gets turned into a kaiju. When an anti-Sonic group develops a mutagen to turn Sonic into a monster, they accidentally end up hitting Vector with it instead, causing him to grow giant. Thankfully, the mutagen doesn't do much to alter his personality, so while he does cause a little bit of destruction, Sonic is able to reason with him very quickly. Unfortunately, Eggman thinks that if he were the one to stop Vector, he would be looked at as a hero, and he sends in a kaiju-sized Bokun to fight him. Luckily for Vector, SBO manages to find a cure, which Sonic administers just before the military arrives. Emerl doesn't have a whole lot of appearances in the comics, but he has a few. He makes an appearance in the 10th issue of the Archie Sonic X comics, with Eggman even bringing up the connection between the robot and Professor Gerald. The Gizoid would then make another small appearance in issue 13, but no one really pays him much mind. In the first Mega Man crossover, Emerl is mentioned by Dr. Light as one of Eggman's many failures to take over the world. And post-reboot, now that the events of Sonic Battle properly occurred in canon, Sonic and Knuckles reminisce about the events of that game during the Champions arc. While Gemrel has been a consistent presence in IDW, Emerl has yet to make an appearance, but that could change at any time. If you're looking for something more substantial though, check out Archie Sonic Online, they give Emerl some attention. In issue 175 of the Archie Sonic comics, Eggman completely destroys the Kingdom of Knothole. Starting with Freedom Fighter HQ, Snively bursts through the ceiling, capturing all of Sonic's friends, except for Tails, Amy, and Knuckles. While Mighty, in his last act before being captured, is able to destroy Snively's mech, Snively is able to escape, commenting that he was only a distraction. Sonic quickly rushes to the main village, only to find everything completely destroyed, even his own house. He gets to Castle Acorn hoping that everyone might be inside, only for it to explode right in front of him. Eggman emerges from the flames in a new mech, and despite Sonic's best efforts, even running at him at full speed from the opposite coast, Eggman's mech is unable to be destroyed, leaving our hero temporarily defeated. This is when Chaos returned. In issue 28 of the Archie Sonic X comics, Eggman steals the Master Emerald, intent on using Chaos for his plans once more. However, now knowing that he can't control Chaos directly, he forcibly binds the creature to his robots, allowing Eggman to command him via remote. Chaos clearly doesn't want to do the Doctor's bidding, but can't seem to break free, though he regains control just long enough to give Sonic the 7 Chaos Emeralds, allowing him to transform. Even then, this upgraded form of Chaos still proves to be too powerful. Thankfully, Sonic is able to realize that his best chance at winning is to steal Eggman's remote. And once he does and Chaos is freed, the creature immediately turns on Eggman, with Sonic destroying the robot he was bound to shortly after, allowing him to go free. In the possible future of Light Mobius, Sonic and Sally have children. First glimpsed all the way back in 1995's Sonic the Hedgehog in Your Face, older sister Sonia and younger brother Manic are the spitting image of their parents. Unfortunately, when Sonic altered the timeline, both of them were erased from existence. Though when Sonic and Sally reunited in the altered future, one of the first questions Sonic asked was that if Sally had ever thought about having kids. In this new timeline, they are now twins, with Manic having Sally's eye color and Sonia having Sonic's, with both of them also inheriting Sonic's super speed. Like most of the future children, they participate in the battle against Chaos, with these two dealing the finishing blow. Pearly the Manta Ray is a character who appears in the Archie Sonic comics. The priestess in training at the Yusube Shrine, she is currently the apprentice of the shrine's current priestess, Coral the Beta, and is far enough along in her training to be trusted in administering the shrine's sacred rites by herself. Interestingly, despite the shrine's surrounding Chao garden, she states that Chao creep her out. Though when the shrine is attacked by Dark Gaia creatures, she forces herself to lead them to safety despite her discomfort. These are the first victims of the metal virus. After having thoroughly tested the metal virus on both plants and animals, Eggman is ready to unleash his virus on the world, equipping occasional henchmen rough and tumble with backpacks filled with the virus, and telling them they're just a backup plan in case Sonic gets the upper hand. When Sonic, of course, does, the two activate their packs only to be covered in the virus, transforming them into Zombots. Not knowing how the infection works, Sonic ends up getting infected himself, though Amy is lucky enough to have only hit them with her hammer. Finding the Zombot rough and tumble to be nigh invulnerable, Sonic decides that the only option is to kick them into a pit in Echo Mine, where they would stay until everyone was cured and the two were rescued by Tails and Tangle. This is when Sonic 1 showed up in Sonic X. Starting in issue 10 of the Archie Sonic X comics, Sonic wakes up in Green Hill Zone with no clue as to how he got there. In reality, Eggman managed to kidnap Sonic and all his friends and trap them in a virtual world powered by the Master Emerald. And once they complete the game, the base they are held in would explode. Sonic realizes something is wrong since the Eggman he encounters talks nowhere near as much as he's used to, and as he presses on through the levels, he reunites with Amy, Knuckles, Rouge, Tails, Cream, Cheese, and Vanilla. Thankfully for them, just as they complete the final level, Chris and his grandfather are able to find them and free them from the machine just before the base explodes. Dimitri is a character who appears in the Archie Sonic comics. Once an Echidna scientist, he was possessed by Enerjack and would remain the vessel of the Chaos God for quite some time, until he was depowered by Mammoth Mogul, causing him to age hundreds of years in an instant. In order to keep him alive, the Dark Legion cybernetically augmented him, leaving him mostly machine. His health, however, would continue to decline, and even at one point would be implied to have passed on. In reality, he's just a head preserved in a glass ball at this point, though still manages to be an active antagonist, even allying with Dr. Eggman at some point and leading the Dark Egg Legion for a time. The Archie Sonic comics would also give us a potential look at Knuckles' future. At some point, Knuckles would regain his Chaos form and use it to destroy Eggman for good. However, the form would cause him to lose control, and he began trying to recreate the world to his own vision. Sonic would use a device to depower him, but it would unfortunately also cost the Echidna his right eye. The two would have a falling out after this, not seeing each other for many years. During this time, Knuckles would have a child, Laura-Sue, with Julie-Sue. When the timeline was altered, Knuckles was able to keep his memories of the other timeline due to his proximity to the device that caused it. In the new timeline, he still had Laura-Sue with Julie-Sue, though now he is the chief enforcer of King Shadow, though he does betray him at the first opportunity. This is the end of Shard the Metal Sonic. After Eggman discovers the existence of Shard, he rebuilds Metal Sonic specifically with the goal of destroying the heroic robot. Metal draws out his kin by attacking the comatose Antoine, and when Shard arrives, the two take their fight elsewhere. While the two would normally be a match for one another, Metal's databanks are filled with footage of every previous battle a Metal Sonic had, and this allows him to get the upper hand on Shard. Shard attempts to reason with him, stating that he could be so much more than a weapon or a tool, causing him to flash back to Shadow's previous plea for Metal to leave Eggman's side, which causes him to second guess himself, but only for a moment. This gives Shard an opening to attack, but Metal destroys his arm. In a last-ditch effort, Shard attempts to blow up the both of them, and while this does happen, Metal Sonic gets rebuilt, while Shard is left in the Great Wastes. It's unclear if Shard would have returned, being that the comic would be rebooted very shortly after this. With the Batman Shadow animation, let's take a look at some of the Batman references in Archie Sonic. Issue 8 features a whole lot of robots based on comic characters, but the first to appear is Botman, who Robotnik even summons with a signal. Bat Sonic, obviously a version of Sonic who is Batman, first makes an appearance in issue 19 among a multiverse of Sonics, and makes subsequent appearances as a comic book character of Sonic's own creation in issue 38, and makes another multiversal cameo in Sonic Super Special number 10. Batman himself makes a cameo in Silhouette during the Image Comics crossover in Sonic Super Special number 7 as one of a few captive heroes, which tracks for other cameos Batman has made in Image books. Issue 82 of the main series features a panel referencing Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns, and one of Sonic Universe number 84's off-panel comics features Eggman getting hit into another comic book, with him becoming the Joker and Sonic becoming Nightwing. There's a good few others, but these are the most notable to me. The egg grapes are an Eggman invention that appear in the Archie Sonic comics. Designed to convert the life force of living beings into energy to power Robotnik's machines, Eggman kidnaps an untold number of Mobians, including a large portion of the population of Angel Island, who all seemingly fall victim to this device. He would also end up kidnapping the entire population of Knothole, save for Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Amy, to be used in the machine as well. The four are able to make a rescue of their trapped friends, but not before Eggman is able to use the machine on Charmy, and while Charmy survives the ordeal, he is left permanently affected by it. The Substitute Freedom Fighters are a group that appear in the Archie Sonic comics. While its members made appearances before, the group officially forms during Sonic Live. When Larry Lynx overhears a message that Sonic and the Freedom Fighters were kidnapped by Robotnik, he runs to get help from Sally's Freedom Fighters in training, and the group stages a rescue, during which Larry proves himself to be a very competent leader. And they manage to rescue the Freedom Fighters while Sonic goes through the rest of Sonic Live, leading Sally to make them all the official emergency backup team. Unfortunately, this team wouldn't see pretty much any use after this, with Hamlin actively holding a grudge against Sally, feeling that he'd been forgotten. I figured I'd miss one. In the pages of the doujinshi Clamp in Wonderland, summer 1994, the same book that would give us Kakyoin laying an egg, they featured a short Sonic comic that humanizes not only Sonic, but also Tails, Amy, and most surprisingly, Metal Sonic. There isn't much to talk about because there is only 2 pages of comic here, but the art is really cool. Should I have known about this, being that I'm literally in a JoJo Iceberg video that talks about this book? Probably. These are Eggman's Chao. Starting in issue 5 of the Archie Sonic X comics, Eggman clones a new breed of Chao from Cream's Chao cheese, and through experimentation, discovers he can transform them into destructive dark Chao through radio waves. It's then revealed Eggman had actually cloned an entire garden's worth of Chao, and set about distributing them to everyone in Station Square. And once everyone in the city had one of their own, the Doctor activated the radio waves, unleashing dark Chao upon the city. While Sonic and company attempt to deal with their rampage, the sound of Chao in distress awaken Tikal and Chaos, who arrive to help as well. Thankfully, they find a way to reverse the effects of the radio waves, though Sonic has to do so one Chao at a time. The Sonic comics are no stranger to JoJo references, though a personal favorite of mine happened back in Archie Sonic issue 270. This issue's off-panel comic poses the question of what if the Champions arc was, quote, the manliest of anime, and it not only depicts Knuckles as Jotaro Kujo from JoJo Part 3, but also Sonic as Kenshiro from Fist of the North Star. It's extremely funny for this fight to play out through the framing of Sonic. The Krudzu is an invention of Dr. Robotnik that appears in the Archie Sonic comics. First appearing all the way back in issue 1 of the main series, the device is a robotic plant-like creature that grows at an alarming rate, quickly constricting its victims. Though ironically, its weakness was water. This creation returns after a nearly 200-issue absence, now being able to incorporate and control destroyed Badnik parts. While Sonic believes to have destroyed it upon their first meeting, a piece survived which Eggman used to regrow the creature, first fusing Titan Metal Sonic into its body, and later Metal Knuckles. Two horrifying results. This is probably the closest Sonic's gotten to a Transformers crossover in the comics. In issue 20 of the Archie Sonic X comics, after accidentally wrecking his car, Sam Speed is made an offer by a disguised Eggman to build a brand new vehicle for him capable of outpacing Sonic, which the Doctor dubbed the Speed 5000. Initially, Eggman kept to his word, with the car being able to beat Sonic to an emergency. However, once Sonic arrived, Eggman took control of Sam's car, transforming it into a giant robot. While Knuckles does arrive to help, things look grim for the two of them until Sam Speed and the others managed to temporarily interrupt Eggman's control of the mech, giving Sonic and Knuckles the chance to destroy it. Thank you all so much for watching. I want to thank my patrons and give a special shout out to my $5 patrons, Ned Rex, Nate DM990, Diddly Doo, and Queer Kaiju. See y'all in the next video.